Hello, everyone. This is Christian DiGregorio, Director of Recruitment, International Recruitment for York College of Pennsylvania. A little bit about myself. I have been in higher education for about 20 years. So I started back in, it'll be September of 2000, so it'll be a few months, it'll be 20 years. And I started my journey and international recruitment around that time with the school in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I was there for 18 years and then went to another school in Maryland. And now I'm at York College of Pennsylvania. So I've really enjoy what I do. I enjoy meeting the people and helping the students in any way I can. I have presented for NAFSA for the annual conference and NACAC for their annual conference as well. And do some publishing a bit. So, and I've been to India quite a few times. I have a business visa, which makes things much easier when I travel. I could just kind of go and go see my friends or go visit schools and so forth. So what I wanted to do is talk to you about how to write a statement of purpose. So I'm going to be sharing a presentation with you a little and talk a little bit about that. It's not too long, the presentation, and then I'll talk a bit about York College of Pennsylvania. So if I could, I'm going to share my screen in just a moment here. There we go. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, we are able to see it. Thank you.
Great. So again, this is how to write a statement of purpose. I'm Christian DiGregorio, Director of International Recruitment. It's my email address, and York College of Pennsylvania. So here we go. So why is it important? Why do we want people to do this? And I've been an admissions director for about a decade. So I've written some of these rules where I've asked students to write them. And the big thing that students should know is that it's part of their application. It's not everything, but it allows the student and gives the student an opportunity to express themselves, maybe show a little bit about their personality, their background, their experiences, and so forth. What we really want is to give the students an opportunity to showcase their skills that we can't see on paper. You can't see on a mark sheet or on a test score. How do you really measure the dedication to their studies? Is it just by good grades? There's a lot of students with good grades. But what sets them apart from other students? What are their academic experiences? What are their life experiences? What are their talents and accomplishments? What have they done? I had a student from Kolkata. She started a nonprofit organization. And that's something you don't get from a test score. That's something that I got from an essay. And then it, made me want to call that student and talk to them a bit. Every challenge is an opportunity, and the student should really approach the essay with that kind of mindset. One of the best essays, maybe the best essay I ever read, was from a student, and she had 7 siblings, so 7 brothers and sisters. And she starts the essay with how much she dislikes her brothers and sisters, and she names each one of them. She says, John, I don't like you. You're annoying, and this other sister who was suffering from a handicap. You take up all my time. But what she did then was she flipped it and talked about the opportunity. And she said, John, you're annoying, but you taught me patience. Her sister who was handicapped, I spent all of my time with you, helping you get dressed, brushing your teeth with you, and doing all that. You taught me compassion. And she goes through all of her siblings like that. And it was an amazing essay. And I immediately pick up the phone. I called the school and said, I need to speak with this girl. This is probably the best essay I've read in 17 years. So of all the essays, that was the best one. So if you really approach this as it's an opportunity and have that mindset, you'll get so much more out of it. All right, so writing the essay, what is that going to start to look like? Some schools will have a preset list of topics, okay? So they'll say, you need to do this. Here's the topic, and I'll get into that in the next slide. So here's the topic. Please answer this question. Okay. Some will leave the statement open, and they'll just say something like, what motivates you? Or what's important to you? What matters most in your life? How do you affect others that you come in contact with? Or how have you done that in the past? Some will ask, well, if you come to my university, how are you going to have an impact on my university? You know, is there going to be certain sort of research that you're going to do here? Is there going to be some sort of activities or clubs you're going to be involved in? Are you going to be a leader in campus? Are you going to get involved with others? Are you going to donate your time in some way? What are you going to do in the classroom? You know, those type of things, we want to know that as admission directors. Some of them will be very specific to the academic program. So let's say the student applies for, you know, something like fine arts. How are you going to use your abilities to help others? You know, it might be something like that. Some schools have gotten into this a little bit. There's a link at the bottom of the screen where they'll allow you to do pictures or a video, and that's your essay. So instead of a written essay, you make a video. And I really encourage you to watch this video. It was really well done. I thought the young woman did just a fantastic job where she talked about who she was, and she did it in a video. And there's no words. It's just maybe a little bit of music and some stop motion animation that she did. Anyone could do this video that she did. There's nothing, you know, technically advanced, but it was just very well done. So, all right. For those of you that are applying to schools that are members of the Common Application, so I think there's about 500 schools in the United States that are members of the Common Application, and York is one of them. The Common Application announced that they're going to use the same essay prompts as last year. So, and I won't go through all of these, but I'll just kind of pick a few of them. So number 3 is very thought-provoking. You know, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or an idea. You know, what prompted your thinking and what was the outcome? So the way I interpret this is sometimes we get stuck in the mindset of, well, that's what we do because that's the way we've always done it. And no one ever questions it, but we just always do things that way. No one really knows why. No one said, well, why do we do it that way? And is there a better way to do that? And as the student, as the essay writer, would say, well, maybe there is a better way to go about that, you know, because I started doing that problem and I think that needs to be handled differently. And there'll be some others that you can also take a look at. All right, so writing the essay. Mistake number 1 that people make, they try to do like a really fancy font. Don't do that. Just a very simple font. I think that what I'm having my presentation is a simple Arial font that's been bolded. That's it. I think when people try to do something that is, you know, a little more fancy is when they get themselves into trouble, because as you're a reader, as you work for a college or university in the United States, you're looking at that and you're reading, you know, maybe 15 to 20 essays a day. And over the course of a recruitment cycle, through an academic year, you're reading hundreds of essays. You just want something simple and easy. They should be maybe doubled or 1.5 spaced. So, you know, you skip a space on a line. So when you're writing on your document, make sure you have it set so it's every other space that you're writing. or at least have a little half a space in between. Limit how much you write. Sometimes people, they have so much to say that they want to get very detailed, but the problem is we're reading so much. When you have a long essay, you lose our focus as a reader. Or say if something's 4, 5, 6 pages long, now we're skimming. And all that detail that you put into your essay, we've now skipped over. We want something maybe 1 to 2 pages. Get your point across in that amount of letter. All right, so what's the basic structure? All right, your introduction. This is the best chance to grab the reader's attention. So when you have an introduction, this is who I am and this is what you're trying to accomplish. Then you go into the body. What's the best chance to leave an impression on the reader? Myself. So you really want to get your point across, you want to captivate it. And then your conclusion is an opportunity for you to really give that lasting impression. So as the essay reader, you're reading that and then you get to put that down and say, boy, okay, that was good. And then we're making notes after that on your file. So it's an introduction, a body, which is a little bit longer, and then your conclusion, which is the last 3 or 4 sentences. And that's it. All right, so what are the characteristics of a good essay? As someone who's read many, many essays over this time, don't use something that's one-sided, just your perspective. Use multiple perspectives. And it gives the reader, it allows us to know that you have the ability to consider other people's opinions and beliefs, and that you can think analytically. All right, so think about this. You're a student, you're coming in, and you're going to be meeting hundreds, probably thousands of people at a school. And they're from all over the world. Many of them will be from the United States, but in different parts of the United States. You're going to be meeting people with different backgrounds, different beliefs. So you need to be able to be respectful and considerate of those people and their beliefs. And that will help you, let's say if you go into business later on or engineering later on, you have the ability to do that. Don't be negative. We don't want you to be negative about your essay where you're criticizing a person or maybe an organization. Don't be overly negative. That really turns us off. Be honest. Don't say something that you don't really believe in just because you think it's something that, I'm sorry, just because someone is being, you want to get a certain belief across, or you want to be unique. Be unique. Be yourself. Be specific and to the point. Again, 1 to 2 pages. Get right to the issue. Don't try to impress us. Write about what's important to you. That's what makes a good essay. Don't try to use, words that are very complicated. Don't try to write things that you don't believe in and so forth. Be yourself. All right, before you submit an application, have someone proofread the essay, please. Okay, there's a little cartoon at the bottom that says, I read your essay and college has 2 L's. It happens. It happens to myself. I have someone read. So before I send an email out to a lot of people, I have someone read it. Allowed to do that. Allow time to pass between your revisions. So when you're writing an essay, write it out, put it down, and then think about it. Really think about it for a while. And then go back maybe a day or 2 later. Sometimes it's a week later. Don't try to sit down, write the essay in 30 minutes and try to get it out there. It's not a task that you should think as, I just need to get it done. I need to check that box that I have that done. This is an opportunity, as I talked about in previous slides. And again, Don't write beyond your capability. Don't use, complex words because you think it's fancy and you're trying to make an impression. Again, be yourself. That's what's really important. All right. So what are admissions officers thinking? What am I thinking? I've been an admissions director. I've sat on many, many admissions committees. As I'm looking at that file, I got the mark sheets, I got your test scores, I have your essay that I've read and I made some notes. And now we're talking about you in the committee, the student. All right, here's what I'm trying to determine from everything, especially your essay, which gives me a little more insight. Are you going to be successful if I admit you to my school? That's what I know. If you're maybe on the borderline, that essay may push you over the top, okay? How are you going to contribute to my university? I want to know how you're going to make an impact here. Not just that you're going to study and you're going to work hard. What kind of impact are you going to have in others, in your classmates? I want to know that. Can you communicate your thoughts and ideas? So here's the topic question or whatever it might be. Did you answer it successfully? Did you have an idea and then articulate that? What kind of alumni are you going to become long term? People don't think about that. They just always think, I'm going to get in. I want to get in. But what happens after that? How do I think you're going to represent my institution after you graduate? Okay? So that's something you really should consider. And it's a bit out of the box and really long term down the road. But as an admissions officer, I'm looking at this saying, here's someone who's really smart. Maybe they're energetic. Maybe they've talked about their long-term goals a bit. How are they going to affect my school? How are they going to represent the name of my institution once they leave? Do I think they're going to get a job? Are they a driven person? I want to know that. Are you resilient? How do they handle challenges well? It's the challenges that maybe you've experienced in your life, but you're going to have a lot of challenges coming to a school in the United States or any country when you're leaving your home. It's a whole new way of thinking. Leaving, say, from secondary school to go to a college level or a university level, that's an adjustment. Switching cultures, switching countries, that's an adjustment. All right. I kind of want to get an idea about how resilient you are. And that you can't get from a mark sheet. That you're going to get from an essay or statement of purpose. All right. Some final words that I'm going to talk about. Be careful out there. Be very wary about websites, articles, or agents that tell you that, if you pay a fee, promise you're going to get in. I will help you with that essay. They may even try to write it for you. Be very careful of that. If someone offers you that, get away from there. Get out of there as fast as you can. It's a slippery slope, and you wind up getting yourself into trouble at some point. Start early. Again, you want to revise, go through, write what you need to write, reflect, and then go back. And keep in mind that the essay is not the only thing that we're using to determine your student's admission. All right, it's one of the pieces. And don't plagiarize. We'll find out. How do we know? We have software that we run the applications through. So we'll get your essay, we run it through the software, and if large chunks of it come up, certain colors that say it'll be highlighted in yellow, it means it was used from somewhere else. So it scours the internet looking for other essays that sound the same, okay? And I've had to tell a couple students, not a lot, thankfully, maybe just a small handful, that they weren't going to be admitted because they plagiarized their essay. All right, here's some resources. Of course, you can go to Education USA, which has really offices all over the place. There's a few in Mumbai where KP Tours is located. And there's some other areas, cities that have Education USA. Here's some links that I thought might be some good starting points if you wanted something a little more in-depth, a little more technical with the writing. There's Khan Academy, there's the College Board, and one called Essay Edge that might give you some different hints and thoughts on how they can, on maybe how you can write an essay. All right, so it looks like we have a couple questions that we're going to take a look at. So the first one is, let's see, what are some of the questions that colleges ask for essay topics? So we answered that one in the past couple slides. If you have something more specific, we can do that. How long? Again, 1 to 2 pages. Don't get 4, 5, 6 pages. Please don't do that. What should we include in your essay about career opportunities? Okay, so what you can do, that's a good question as well. All of them are good questions. What we can do is, you know, when you're say, let's going for engineering, you know, I want to be an engineer. Let me go back to the question a bit. So what opportunities I plan to pursue? So kind of what do you want to do after you graduate? A lot of people just focus on, well, I want to be the engineer. But there's a lot that goes into that. Who's going to run the office? Who's going to get the clients? Who's going to do all these different things that goes along with engineering, not just being an engineer? How are you going to study? Who influences you as an engineer? You know, is that out there? Maybe that gets put into your essay. All right, another question. Can you share how important the essay is when compared to transcripts, letters of recommendation, or extracurricular activities? I don't know that it's a scale so much. You know, one of the first things we're going to look at is transcripts and mark sheets. I think that's the first thing we look at because that's easier and can be determined quickly. The student I talked about earlier that had the best essay that I ever read, and you know, that at that point was 17 years, her grades and test scores were not very good. They were not very good at all. But it completely, if I didn't have that essay, there's no way I'd want to talk to her. Her grades were not good. But because she thought differently, because she didn't just rely on mark sheets, you know, it turns out she had some challenges. She had some learning disabilities. She learned differently. I got a real sense of how smart she really was by reading that essay and then talking to her later. That it was really impressive, and she was much more mature than some other students with really good grades. And I've seen students with good grades come into my school and they don't perform well because you have to think outside the box. You have to think differently. Letters of recommendation are important, and extracurriculars. It's a piece of the puzzle, but a statement of purpose has the ability to really sway an admissions committee. So if you know, again, think of this as an opportunity, not just a task. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Okay, any other questions on that? So we've been almost 30 minutes. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about my institution.
I think we can continue, and then the questions can follow in the Q&A section.
Okay.
If that's just to help you with the rhythm. Thank you.
All right. Let me get the other one set up. Okay. So we are York College of Pennsylvania. And something I want to say, I want to get across a point right off the bat is in the United States, the difference between a college and a university is different than what it is in India. College and university, the main difference is the college won't offer doctoral degrees. So even though we are a college, we offer bachelor degrees and master degrees. It usually refers to the size, but it has nothing to do with the quality of the institution, nothing at all. So if you see something that's named a college, don't think it's a secondary school or a community college. Quite the contrary. United States, we use college and university almost interchangeably. Okay. So again, there's my name, Director of International Recruitment, my email address. I'll share my contact information at the end as well. So a little bit about us. We were founded in 1787. We're one of the oldest institutions in the United States. We are private. We're not a public institution. And we really focus on, well, quite a few things, but mostly engineering and the sciences, computer science, cybersecurity, and business, along with a bunch of others. We have hospitality and fine arts and all sorts of things. Okay, we are about 4,100 full-time undergraduate students and about 400 to 500 master level students. We have about 70 majors. We just started a new one called Healthcare Administration. That's going to start in August. We have small class sizes. So we're not going to, you won't have a class of 200 or 300 people here at York. Some schools will do that. You know, you have a class and there's, 200 people in your classroom, that many classmates. That won't happen at York. Here's where we're located. So if you never heard of us, we're about 2 hours away from Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., about an hour and a half away from Baltimore. And Harrisburg is about 30 minutes. Harrisburg is the capital of Pennsylvania. Just below Harrisburg is a city called Hershey, and Hershey is famous for chocolate. And I remember, going into a Karachi bakery quite a few times because they have really great cookies. I'm addicted. There were Hershey chocolate in the Karachi bakery. So that's something that, Hershey spans all over the world. That's where they make the chocolate, right there. And they give tours through the factory and so forth. It's a really good time. All right. We are accredited by 9 different organizations, including ABET for computer science and our engineering programs, and business is accredited by ACBSP. These are independent organizations that look at colleges and universities in the United States and say, you're very good at what you do, you get our stamp of approval. We offer CPT and OPT to all of our students. CPT is, I won't say it's required, but it's pretty close. There's some majors, some academic programs where we really, really want people to do internships. Things like respiratory care. You're studying in a classroom for 3 years, and then for 1 year, you're in the hospital, studying and learning with doctors and nurses and so forth. If you're engineering, you're going to be an engineering firm, probably 3 of them. You're going to have 3 different opportunities. Some are short-term, and there's a longer one later on. If you're really into ranks, we're ranked 80th out of 1,500 schools in our region. We do get ranked regionally by this magazine, U.S. News and World Report, because we don't offer doctoral degrees. We have a doctorate in nursing, but that's about it. All right, so here's some programs of interest. There's a link at the bottom of the screen that will show you all of the programs that we offer. Okay, but we have the full engineering spectrum. So we have civil, computer, electrical, and mechanical engineering. And then I kind of used this example before, engineering management. Who's going to run the office? Who's going to get the clients? Who's going to be, do the accounting? Who's going to manage everyone in the projects? That's what engineering management does. Science, you got the chemistry, medical laboratory science. Respiratory care, starting to become a little more popular in India, really popular with our students from the Middle East. Computer science, of course, we have cybersecurity, Nuclear medicine technology, that's something that's interesting. Business analytics, supply chain operations, which is really important in our area. So with supply chain operations, it's here's my product or what I'm manufacturing. How do I move it from one location to the next buyer, to the next supplier? How does all that happen? And there's a lot that has to work in the meantime. That's supply chain operations. All right. We do offer our master level programs to international students. We have an MBA, Master of Accounting, Education, Marketing and Communications, Leadership, which is becoming more and more prominent. So it's some business courses and how do you want your organization to react to problems? What's going to be the institutional culture or the organizational culture? How's everyone going to communicate? How do you want that to happen and so forth? And then we have public policy and administration. All right, just some pictures from our campus. We do have a few students from India. We have a hot air balloon festival. Not many schools get to have that. And that happens once a year in the summer. It's a picture from one of our engineering summer camps, actually. And this is one of our buildings that we have here on campus. We've put in $160 million into our infrastructure the past few years. And this is one of our students from Nigeria. And he said, you know, the technology that he had access to, he said he had never seen it before. He didn't expect it to the level that he had seen in Nigeria, in his home country. And he came here and he was just like, wow. So here's some of our computer science classrooms. This is mechanical engineering. Our students get to build a race car. There's a Harley Davidson factory in York, Pennsylvania. So it's not just the name of the school, it's also the name of the city. So Harley Davidson's here and students got to build a race car, which was a lot of fun. These are vapor hoods for chemistry students. So what this does is remove a lot of the chemicals and compounds, vapors, away from students, so they're kept safe during experiments. This is from biology. This is our Performing Arts Center. Our students put on their own performances. So in a previous presentation, someone was asking about extracurricular activities. We do offer a lot of extracurricular activities, and this is a way for students to get involved. We do have a athletic center for students and our student athletes. So it's a fitness center and arena. We do have football. We have lots of different sports that students can play. These are our new residence halls. This is right next to our engineering building, which is just kind of out of the picture a little bit. But these are very nice. They're only about 2 years old. And their students get to live there, and then they walk across the street to go to engineering. One of the things that makes us unique is the students have an opportunity to present and create original research with their classmates and professors. So for biology students, for example, in their 3rd year, they write a proposal and share it with the faculty. This is what I'd like to study. And then that gets approved, or the student gets sent back to rewrite the proposal. But if it gets approved, they then get to perform that research, and then their 4th year, they then present that to the campus community, what their findings were. So again, we have traditional dorms, apartments, suites, houses, lots of different living spaces. There is campus security. It's a safe place to be. there is a hospital right next door to us. So you can walk to the York County Hospital in 5 minutes. So it's very close. It makes internships very, very easy as well. We do have academic advising, and academic advising, what that is, we want students to graduate in 4 years. So we help organize the student studies, organize the subjects they're going to take, and help them graduate on time. We have an academic services area where if the student struggles or needs a tutor, they can get that done. And we have health services and mental health services on campus. So if a student ever becomes ill, we do have nurses on campus that can treat them. And if they become very ill for some reason, again, York County Hospital is a 5-minute walk. We can get them there quite quickly. I mentioned internships. We do like students to take lots and lots of internships if possible. So we, especially, there's lots of majors you can justify internships with. I don't know that there's a major you can't justify an internship. The other thing you can keep in mind is that you can do study abroad. Students can do study abroad. Just because they're in the United States doesn't mean they can't spend a semester or a few weeks in another country studying. So we actually had some students, they went to Jaipur for I think 2 or 3 weeks to study. So, think of it this way, you're from India, you can go back to India, you can go home to do study abroad. Here's a list of some of the organizations that people have done internships at. Many of them are local. Like I mentioned, Harley Davidson up at the top has a factory that's here in York. The ARC, Habitat for Humanity, WGAL News 8, a lot of these places, it can be very local. You can get an internship very quickly. The faculty help you, and our career development office will help you. And speaking of them, we do have a career expo every year. So you can go in your last year, you can go to the career expo, bring your resume, which we will help you write, and approach different companies and hopefully secure a job or OPT. All right, after 233 years, we've developed quite an alumni network. So we have alumni chapters in New York City, in Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, Susquehanna Valley, which is just about an hour north of us. That's considered the Susquehanna Valley. So if someone's looking for OPT, maybe we have some contacts there that can help some students. Here's one of our alumni. His name's Matthew Card. He's Senior VP for Media and Communications for Bank of America. He graduated in 2000. He's doing very well for himself. All right, so what's required for an application? Of course, you go to that link, you can apply. There's an official transcript or mark sheets. If you have a diploma, great. Score reports I'm going to talk about in just a moment. There's a little chart and it kind of makes things easier to explain. The essay or personal statement, of course, and a letter of recommendation is helpful. If you have a resume where you can list maybe jobs or extracurricular activities, that's helpful too, or you can just list it in your application. All right, we can get decisions out quite quickly. If I'm traveling, it might take me a little bit longer to present your file to the admissions committee. This time of year, it takes about a week. When I'm traveling, it might take 3 weeks. But for the most part, it can happen quickly. If you're accepted and you want to commit to York, you can pay a non-refundable deposit. It's $500 for engineering programs, $200 for all other undergraduate programs, and $100 for graduate level programs. All right, so you would go to that link. You would go to first-time users, create the account, and then you would apply. All right, requirements for the most part. Just marks we're going to talk about here. So if you're looking for computer science or engineering, we're going to ask for the SAT. Same thing with chemistry and engineering management. We need the SAT. The faculty or professors are really going to scrutinize the quantitative section, or what we call the math. We lovingly refer to it as the math section. And those are the scores we're going to look for. Keep in mind, this is not the SAT 2 subject test, okay? This is SAT 1, the exam that everybody takes. They're going to focus a little more heavily on the quantitative section. And these are the scores they're looking for. 530 for computer science, 620 for the math for engineering, 560 for chemistry, 590 for engineering management, okay? When we get to things like radiography, nuclear medicine, respiratory care, or education, those professors look at it a little differently. They're going to look at the quantitative, which is the math section, and the critical reading verbal together, what we call the composite, all right? So radiography, nuclear medicine, respiratory care, they're going to look for a 1050, all right? So you need to have that. That's the cutoff to have a chance to get admitted. Education, if you're interested in that, you want to be a teacher. If you want to be a teacher, they're going to need a 980. Everybody else, it gets a lot more simple, okay? So if you want, say, business or biology, you could take the SAT, or you could take an IELTS, or you could take a TOEFL or a Duolingo. You don't need to take 2 or 3 of those, just one. Just pick one, any one. And for the other programs above that I mentioned, if you've taken the SAT, you do not need an English language proficiency exam. It's not required. Don't worry about it. I have a student now who he keeps asking me, I think he wants business. He goes, I want to study business. Do I need to take the TOEFL? I'm already, I think he has taken the SAT. I'm like, no, you don't need it. You took the SAT, you don't need the TOEFL. Don't worry about it. Just relax, it's going to be okay. All right. Here is our fee structure. Full-time tuition and fees for next year, not what students are paying now, for next year is $21,700. Traditional room and board is $11,890. Health insurance is $1,200. And then we estimate some costs. We don't know how much exactly your books and supplies that might be. We estimate it'll be $1,200. If you say you're a fine arts student, that will probably be higher. If you're a business student, there's a good chance that could be lower. It just depends. Personal expenses, again, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we estimate it should be about $2,050, roughly. Based on history, that's on average what people are spending. There are some small scholarships available that could be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 per year. All right. So let's say if you get the $5,000, it's almost 1 year free. It's pretty close. You get the price of 4 years for only paying for 3 years. That's not too bad. The annual certification amount, we would use the documentation, which is called an I20, should be about $39,000. I should say that scholarships are based on merit. They're not based on need, based on merit. So how good your marks are and so forth. All right, here's some pictures from campus. All right, and here's the city of York, Pennsylvania. All right, so York was founded in, I believe, 1764, and the United States became shortly after that, and then shortly after that, York College of Pennsylvania started in 1787. There are a bunch of different festivals that happen throughout the year. There's the York County Fair that happens once a year. And this is called Central Market. This is an indoor shopping area. It's a very large indoor market. A lot of organic foods and things like that. It's gifts. It's very nice, very nice. And this is how you can get in touch with me. That's my WhatsApp. So feel free to jot that down and message me. I make that available to anyone. And again, that's my email. Our website is www.ycp.edu. So again, if you have anything, if you want to talk a little bit later, I'd be happy to do so. It looks like we have some questions, and I'm going to get to those here in just a minute. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, and let's get to the questions here. All right. All right, so how do private colleges differ from public colleges in terms of classrooms, student to faculty ratio, and career outcomes? The big difference between private and public colleges is that public colleges get funded by what's called the state government, the kind of like the local government would fund those students. There are public colleges that are smaller, so it doesn't really affect the student to faculty ratio and not necessarily affect the size of the classrooms. It doesn't really affect the career outcomes whatsoever. But the big difference is a private college is privately owned. Almost all private and public colleges in the United States are what's called nonprofit, meaning all the money gets reinvested back into the institution. But the main difference between a public and private is that the funding comes from more of the state, whereas private college, we rely on alumni giving and tuition and fees, more privately funded. Can I share more details about our Indian students, please? I know we have students from Bangalore, Mumbai, and I think some areas in Gujarat. And I think one or two from Hyderabad, but I don't know. I kind of showed the slide there that kind of profiled the one student. We do work with quite a few schools in Mumbai. We actually belong to a consortium between Pennsylvania schools and Indian schools, and we do have a few agreement with Indian schools in Mumbai and Hyderabad and Bangalore and so forth. Popular clubs and activities for students on campus, and can students join sports teams? Yes, they can join sports teams. There's a few ways that they can do that. There's what's called varsity, which is more organized sports. So let's say you're going to play football. You can join that sport and be on a team that travels and plays other colleges. You can do that. Or you could do what's called intramural. Intramural is less organized and kind of just some friends that get together and play, and you get to use our facilities, which are very nice. Popular clubs and organizations, there is a global leadership club that you can get involved in, but I think there's about 100 clubs and activities on campus. You would visit our student activities office to find out more. If for some reason we do not offer a club that you wish to have or join, we've had more than one student start their own club. They usually get about 10 friends together with a common interest. They write a proposal and they approach the student activities office. And that's kind of how that works. What NCAA division is your college? Good question. There's 3 divisions. We are Division 3. So Division 1 are people that compete at the highest level and maybe go on to be professional. Division 3 is something that students like to be participate in athletics, but they're most likely not going to become professional athletes. We are Division 3. Okay, New York City. I did talk about that and show some pictures. Look, that question was submitted just before I showed the slides about that. So it is a very old city. It's about 50,000 residents. The surrounding area, if you include that, it's about 70 to 80,000 residents. It's what's called a secondary city. So a place like Philadelphia, that would be a primary city. York is a secondary city. Can you share some of the details about what type of jobs and internship opportunities we expect as an undergrad? We really, really want you to participate. Internships generally do not happen in the first year. Maybe the end of your second year into your third year. I would say third year is usually when the internships begin. Gosh, we've had students do all kinds of things. Sometimes it's shadowing. Sometimes with the approval and depending on the major, you could be a little more involved. We've had some senior students at fourth year students who are biology or pre-med students kind of witness some small operations in a surgery room. So we've had some of those things happen as well. They have to be the best students, and for the most part, you're watching or maybe handing a scalpel or other instrument. Time to share information for safety on campus, housing, and meals. Okay, we'll go safety first. So they have 24-hour security on campus. We also have something which is a text alert system and emergency alert system that the student would sign up for. So the student, if there was ever an emergency and they sign up for the service, they get an emergency alert right to their cell phone. They also get an email that happens. So if something were to happen, students are notified immediately. And then we go from there. There's usually directions that are sent right to that cell phone. There's also local fire departments, and then you have your local police departments too, and you have your state police as well, where if something were to happen, they would be the first responders. And as I said, York Hospital is a 5-minute walk from campus. Housing and meals. There are a few different places where students can get meals. Let me go to that first. So there's the main dining hall, and then there's some smaller cafes around campus. Meals are given 3 or 4, maybe 4 times per day, with the exception of Sunday evening, I believe. And there's a few different options. I believe there's 6 different options per day. So it's not that, the student's going to walk in and they're going to have a few different options available to them, not just one option. This is what you have a few different options. There are usually vegetarian options as well every day, every meal. Housing, a lot of different housing. There's suites. There's on average about 2 to a room. I think this year will be, because of COVID, it'll be more like 1 to a room. That'll be a little more frequent, but we're still exploring that a little bit. But you won't see 4 or 5 people in one room crowded. That won't happen. Test optional, I would revert back to that graph. So there are some programs that are test optional for sure. Let's say if you wanted business, if you do, you don't need to take the SAT. If you take a Duolingo, that's fine. Doesn't matter to us. So you don't need to take the SAT if you want some of those other majors. Preferred exam, IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo, no preference. The preference goes to you. I would say that in terms of ease of use, from what students have told me, the Duolingo, you can get your results much faster. And the results kind of integrate with our CRM very quickly. IELTS, you could send us an unofficial score and we can verify those online. So that's something to think about. But really, it's no preference to us. Do your I20 requirements differ by major? And I'm required to submit financial proof of statements when applying or after admission. Okay. The I20 requirements do not differ by major. We'll ask you for, please certify the $39,000 that you have that. You would submit that documentation after you were offered admission. Okay. So after you're offered admission, then at that point you would send us your financial documentation. All right, I got a couple more. I have not taken the SAT or ACT, and I plan to study business. As I am an IB 12th grade student, do I get a TOEFL or good question? That's something we can certainly take into consideration. I would say it differs from school to school and person to person, and that's something that I would work out directly with the student. Has that happened in the past where we've waived the TOEFL and IELTS because they were IB and the SAT was not required? Yes, it has happened. But I would ask you to send me a message on WhatsApp or on my email, and then we can talk about it further. How many letters of recommendation do we require? One's fine. We prefer two, but if you have one, that should be fine. Would they be from your teachers or school counselor? Either of those options are fine, but someone who knows your work, someone who's familiar with your academic progress and potential. That's something that we would want to know. So a teacher, school counselor, or anyone who works at the school would be perfect. All right, I'm going to share my email address again. Let me share my screen one moment. And there we go. There's my email address, and that is my WhatsApp. I communicate with students all the time through WhatsApp, so do not be shy, and please email me. Again, if you have any question on the statement of purpose afterwards too, I'd be happy to answer it. This is about the students. This isn't about necessarily about myself or your college. We want to see students go on and do well. That's the most important thing, and that's why we're doing this today. All right, I'm going to turn it over back to KP Tours, if that's okay. Well, it looks like we have one more question. We'll stop sharing. Let's see if there's one more question. Pre-requirement for math in 11th and 12th grade to pursue STEM degree. Like, okay, good question, very good question. We do like to see pre-calc or calc. So if you've taken calculus or pre-calculus or have studied that in any way, that would help you greatly, especially when you get into computer science or engineering. So keep calculus in mind when you're studying. All right.
Great. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. We've been on time, and really appreciate it. It was very detailed and a lot of information that was provided, not only in terms of essays and SOPs, but also in terms of your institution. So before we depart for the day, I'm going to run a quick poll, and the question on your screen that you will be able to see as well is, did you find this session useful? And we have students who are here. So students, if you can please answer, and please share your inputs. I can see the answers coming in right now. I'm going to wait for 15 more seconds just for consideration of time, as I know Christian would have to leave for other appointments. So we're just going to wait for a quick more 10 seconds before we depart for the day. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So all the results are saying yes. I'm really happy to see this. It makes me happy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your kind time in joining us today and sharing this information with the students, parents, and guidance counselors. To all the students, parents, and otherwise who are listening in today, this session is recorded and will be shared with your schools and guidance counselors. So please feel free to check with them if you'd like to view this again. And also, of course, posted on our social media pages. And please do feel free to share it with other students, parents, and guidance counselors. I'd like to take this kind opportunity to thank Mr. Christian DeGregorio for just spending the hour with us on a very important topic that I know students have been having, and especially guidance counselors have been having when they counsel their students. So thank you very much for your kind time. I wish you a wonderful day, And I look forward to keeping in touch with you.
All right. Thank you very much. Anytime. It was a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. Wish you a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.